Julius Malema Oti, if people vote for us to be in power, we will make sure that Omotoso's victims are will see justice. Justice will be served. And I'm asking myself a question: does that mean that the reason they don't have the victims doesn't have justice, it is simply because of the failures of the ANC? The question is, how political is the justice system? Maybe that's a fair question to ask. How much politics rules the justice system? And so, if, for instance, EFF can give justice to the victims of Omotoso, the question is, so the reason, okay, let me ask this question rather. Let me ask it this way rather. Does it mean that the reason all these victims of Omotoso does not have, the reason they don't have justice or didn't get justice is simply because of the failures of the ANC? In other words, politics at play. Does it mean that? Because that's a direct opposite of what Malema is saying. Do you remember the minister of, I think it was then the late Minister of Finance, Tito Mbowen, he once spoke about the fact that once there's a political will, everything will happen. Does it mean that Malema also is speaking in terms of that to say there will be a political will? So if there is no political will, then the victims of Omotoso does not get justice. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So then it makes sense to ask the opposite then. Does it mean that the reason Omotoso was released, it speaks directly to the failures of the ANC? I want to ask that question. How much of politics were at play in this? Now, obviously, I'll give you what Julius Malema has got to say, but I want for a moment to think of that. And before you rush into the comment, please make it make sense to me. If you say, for instance, if you argue, I will accept your argument, by the way, provided your argument carries, you know what I'm saying, that much significance in terms of what you are saying. How will the EFF, for instance, make sure that there's no politics in the justice system, but rather the justice system at its best? But we'll talk more. Let's listen to Julius Malema speaking about the victims of Omotoso here.
Comrades, we can promise you now, we will never work in a government that includes the DA. We will never work in a government that includes Freedom Front Plus. Those are the people who killed our own people. When we say this is the enemy, if you don't know how the enemy looks like, just look at DA, just look at Freedom Front Plus. Those are the enemies of progress, and we will never work with them. The ANC, if it wants us to vote with them, because they no longer have numbers, they must change the DA out of the executive, then we can consider working together. We need to work in this government, work for you. We must work for Twe. We must work for all the victims of Omotoso. The EFF, once the GNU collapsed and they said the EFF goes into cabinet, we arrest Omotoso afresh and build a proper case, because Omotoso cannot do to our children what he did and still be free on our streets. I advise Omotoso, if it's still early, please, they gave you bail, just run and run very fast. Because if the EFF finds you, you are going to jail.
Having said that, Quite interesting. Quite interesting. So, okay, we now know everybody is not happy around this case. There are two cases in this country that people are not happy about. Number one is Cwecwe. People are not happy about what is happening with Cwecwe. Clearly, people are not happy, and we can see it. It's visible. People are not happy. It ends there. We can't even sugarcoat that, by the way. Then it's Omotoso. People are not happy. I thought that case will die down, maybe, but it seems ever since Omotoso was released, there's been an uproar in this country. People have been complaining. People are crying that Naman, things are not happening the way they should. People are saying, how did Omotoso get released? And I'm one of those who asked the question. And I said to myself, I see. I get it. He got released. I don't dispute that. But what I dispute and what I have a problem with is how it happened. That's my problem. I have a problem with the fact that how it happened. How is it that a man with 32 counts, 32 charges, he just walks away? None of those charges sticks. How is it? How possible is that? But again, there's a danger when politicians get hold of the justice system, because then they can direct it, or they can manipulate the justice system to their favor. We are seeing with Phala right now, how did the public protector clear Ramaphosa? It's still a mystery. We have had the public protector blatantly defending Ramaphosa in matters that she had no business defending Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa himself agreed that he broke the law, but the public protector is busy protecting Ramaphosa. She has recently done that. You see what I'm saying? When politicians got hold of key institutions, it becomes a problem because they use those institutions to eliminate their opposition, and that's the problem. I wouldn't want neither MK Party, EFF, ANC, ATM, DA, you name them. I wouldn't want a politician to get hold of the systems. I'm against even the idea of having a minister of police coming from a political party. I'm against that. I'm against a minister from the political party who is in charge of the army. I'm against that. Don't we trust this institution? Why must we have ministers there? Aren't they qualified enough to run those organizations? That's my worry. When politicians get hold of these key institutions, they will use it to do their will. And they will use it to basically control it and use it as a tool to destroy their enemies. We have seen with Ramaphosa, most people who got arrested are people that belong to the Zuma fiction. People who belong to Ramaphosa's camp. They've never been held accountable. They are immune to that. Why? Because the people who are presiding over those institutions belong to Ramaphosa. So it's dangerous to have politicians presiding over this institution. If it was according to me, those institutions must remain as independent as possible. Because when they remain as independent as possible, it means that we can trust those institutions. Those institutions does not have political power. When I'm thinking about this political power and all the stuff, it's a very sad situation. We find ourselves in a very, 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 very dangerous situation. It's very dangerous. Dangerous from all two sense of the word. What's your take? We get it. Malema said it. I understand what Malema said, but I'm just thinking on a greater scale. Is it okay to have politicians taking over? Let me leave it here. I'll see you guys on the next episode, but until then, please take care.